Hi, my name is Ethan Crawford. Today I'm going to be giving you a speech surrounding obesity. With this speech, I'm hoping to persuade you to change your lifestyle and mindset regarding obesity and potentially educate you more on the subject if there were some things about it that you didn't know. Now, I do have strep throat, possibly right now, so bear with me, but I'm trying to do my best. Thank you. Now, what is obesity? Obesity is characterized by excessive amounts of fat in your body that greatly impair health. The American Heart Association, as of 2021, says that obesity leads to type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, sleep apnea, increases your risk of getting cancer, increases your risk of fatty liver disease. Did I mention heart disease already? Because that's one of the biggest ones. Heart disease actually being the leading cause of death in our country right now. So you can imagine how unhealthy it is to be obese. And that's why I'm wanting to bring so much attention to it, because it is a rampant plague in our country right now that I feel we've struggled with far too long, and I feel there hasn't been enough outreach about it. And were there more outreach about it and more education, I know there's been some, but it hasn't been enough. We would be able to curb the increasing rates of obesity that we have now today. In my visual aid link, you'll see that we have nearly tripled in obesity rates in the last 60 years. We've always had an issue with obesity, but it has never been so prevalent as it is now today. And I'm hoping through more education in it and more lobbying of the government to kind of spank the food corporations into gear and get them to change their practices and get more people to learn these things from school time, and get them to practice healthier lifestyle choices. We might finally be able to kind of at least get into curing this epidemic that we're all experiencing right now. So let's move into the need of why it's important to educate people on obesity. There's such a need for education on obesity because currently, at the moment, the CDC states that over 42% of Americans today are obese, which is not good. Obesity is heavily linked to diabetes, heart disease, cancer, like I mentioned earlier. So the need for more education on it is more prevalent now than ever. And people who fall victim to obesity likely fall victim to other harms that obesity causes. And through education, they could potentially avoid these said harms. Reasons that it is so important for there to be a need for people to understand why obesity is so bad as it is today, is because it, of course, reduces quality of life and the length of life. It puts economic burden on people experiencing obesity and their family members. I'm sure you might see in my 600-pound life, people don't get like that overnight. That is an extreme example, but that is morbid obesity. And you might not ever reach lengths like that, but you can get to a point where you are living a lifestyle that has been severely negatively affected by obesity. And there's a need for education on that because those people on my 600-pound life, or those people you see on the little scooters at Walmart, granted, it wasn't caused by another, health condition. Those people could have maybe avoided having to go down that path in life, if someone had educated them thoroughly from their adolescence on, hey, this is what's healthy and this is what isn't healthy. This is how you exercise properly, and this is how you practice moderation. We don't have to go to cookout every single day, because all that sugar, all that fat and sodium, that deadly combination of three is very addictive, and that can turn you obese overnight. Not overnight, but it'll feel like overnight when you look at yourself in the mirror and you feel like, dang, how we get this far. So that's why I say there's like a great need for change. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. I do want to provide some solutions, and some supporting evidence as well. Don't just take my word for it. People have done a lot of studies on this. And you've probably seen a lot of obese people in your lifetime, and I'm sure you can see that their quality of life, well, you can still live a happy life. It might not be the healthiest life for you, and it might not be the most positive lifestyle that you could live, and your family could see you living as well, because it affects not just you but them as well, especially if you're going to the hospital all the time. So how would I go about giving a solution to this? I would say schools need to implement more standards. Communities need to implement more standards. You yourself have to get more involved in teaching others and educating yourself on obesity. Like I said, the government needs to take a larger step, but they'll never do that if no one gives them an incentive to. So that's why I feel like we kind of had to get on their tails about lobbying them and kind of getting them to wrangle in those food industries in order to get them to practice healthier habits that will increase the well-being of our population instead of the current track that we're on right now. Now, some supporting evidence. In 1997, the Division of Epidemiology and Community Health, led by Dr. Cyan Stainzer, developed the Project EAT initiative. This wasn't anything crazy, basically just experimenting with teaching people, adolescents in school from an early age, middle school or high school, that hey, these are some healthy eating habits and healthy eating choices, and this is what obesity can lead to and the stages that you go through it, and these are some adverse side effects of obesity. And they found that, not rocket science. If you tell people, hey, you keep going on this lifestyle, eventually you're going to end up, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, increase your risk for heart disease and stroke and all this other stuff. And hey, you can avoid that if you just practice healthy eating habits. So imagine yourself in a world where you don't have to deal with that. Imagine yourself living the lifestyle that you want, because I know low self-esteem is a big thing, a part of obesity, and I'm saying that you can basically avoid that perhaps by practicing healthier lifestyle habits. So take action now by telling your friends and family members about it. Don't There's no need to, live in fear of obesity, because obesity is a thing that can be prevented through education and lifestyle changes and being more involved in your community, so you can tell other people long before they might potentially experience that hey, this is what you have to do to avoid that. So thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something interesting today, and I hope I was helpful in maybe changing your mind. Thank you.